Welcome into the Shy Guys Football Podcast. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment for our salute to service. As a veteran of the United States military, it was my distinct privilege to have experienced some of the most incredible support from our civilian counterparts, from care packages while we were deployed, to programs that enable us to take care of and provide for our families with a stable foundation while we're away, and everything else that you can imagine. Your support has truly been the difference. If you are looking for a way to support our troops or are someone who already has been, then I encourage you to consider some of the following nonprofit organizations. All of them make an incredible difference. Please visit thewoundedwarriorproject.com, the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society at nmcrs.org, the Special Operations Warrior Foundation at specialops.org, freedomservicedogs.org, and hopeforthewoundedwarriors.org. For those who need the help, they deserve it. Let's make sure we take care of our troops.
Hello, football fandom. Welcome to the Shy Guys Football Podcast, your weekly source for fantasy news and advice. I'm Donny Mac, and with me, as always, is Anthony Lukasik.
Hey guys, welcome into our Week 3 rundown. We'll be recapping some of what we've seen in Week 3 and giving you guys some tips as well, getting you prepared for Week 4.
Excellent. Well, I had a good Week 3. I was happy with my teams. How about you? Hi, Tess.
Oh, we have
We have
Tess
our own special guest.
making her first on-air appearance. All right, come on.
Come on, Tess. All right.
I had an okay Week 3. A little bit of a disappointing performances. I put up the third high league points in a redraft, but I ended up losing to the league high team for the week. So,
of course.
It's always kind of unfortunate when that happens, but you do what you got to do.
Yeah. All right, well, in this week, we are going to be running down our Week 3 studs and duds. We are going to go to the wire for our Week 4 waiver wire picks. We're going to talk about some players to hold your horses on. We have a new segment for all of you daily fantasy players, so stay tuned for that. And then we'll round out with a little bit of hometown corner talking about our lovely Chicago Bears. But first, we are going to go to our news, notes, and injuries from around the league, and we have a ton of injury updates to get to, so we're going to be rapid-firing these a little bit. Stick with us. First off, we have Younghoe Koo with a groin strain, kicker out of Atlanta, doubtful, expected to miss some time. He played through the injury during the Bears game, and it's rare to say I'm upset losing a kicker, normally a spot that gets streamed, but he's been doing well for me, and I'm a little disappointed here.
Yeah, he's been pretty solid. I'm just actually impressed that you got the name right. That was really impressive.
Yep, got it. It gets tricky, and we're going to give you a tricky one here in a minute. We have an update on Julio, and our update is still unclear.
Yeah, not much of an update, huh?
Right.
Still waiting on word for Julio. Keep an eye out for, and I'm going to try this, don't judge me, Olamide Zaccheaus. I'm going to go with that. I think that one might have been close.
I have no idea.
So this is the next man up in the receiver room for the Falcons, and he actually looked good last Sunday. Don't forget that we have Russell Gage with a head injury. He's in the concussion protocol right now, so I don't even think that he's been completely confirmed with a concussion at this point. So it could be 1 to 2 weeks. He could be back. Keep an eye on that in the meantime. But if those two guys aren't ready to go, Zaccheaus will be the next man up, and he looks pretty good.
Yep. We've got an update on Zach Moss with the toe injury. It's going to depend on Wednesday's practice, whether or not he suits up and is ready to play. We have John Brown with a calf injury, questionable. The update we got was it's a soft tissue injury, and it's concerning. That's all we've got to go on here. We've got Tariq Cohen with an ACL injury, and that's
Bunny.
That's it.
Yeah.
We can throw the entire Broncos defense on this list because they got beat up. We've got Philip Lindsay with a toe injury. Coach says trending in the right direction. So that's good, looking good. Devontae Adams update is a small chance for this week, but keep an eye for updates because that's going to change. Michael Pittman could miss some time due to a lower leg injury. Well, sorry, is going to miss some time.
Will miss some time.
Yeah,
Yep.
went in for surgery for what was it again?
He had compartment leg syndrome, so they went in and gave him some surgery to kind of relieve that pressure. And so he's going to be out a week or two at least, probably a little bit more than that.
Okay. We've got DJ Chark still undergoing testing as of Monday morning for chest and back injury. We got Ruggs and Edwards. Gruden reports worried about both Ruggs with a hamstring, Edwards with an ankle. We have Tyrod's lawsuit updates. Lynn saying not in a position to rule Taylor out for Sunday against the Bucks.
I mean, that's good. He's trending in the right direction then. If they're looking at him to be a potential to play on Sunday, that means he's got to be feeling much better. That's good.
Yeah, most definitely. Another player trending in the right direction that you'll be happy about, Michael Thomas. The latest update is looked good in practice.
Don't jinx me.
Yep. As long as there's no setbacks, on track for the weekend, so we're good there. We've got Jamison Crowder expected to be a game-time decision Thursday, and at least if you've got him, it's a Thursday game, so you've got some time to adapt. Goddard will miss some time due to an ankle injury. We've got Alshon Jeffrey. Peterson reports will ramp up his activity in practice, so
we'll
good.
See. The Eagles need him.
Yep. 49ers pretty much all set to be evaluated Wednesday. Jordan Reed to the IR 6 to 8 weeks with a sprained MCL. We've got Chris Carson listed as questionable first-degree knee sprain. We've got Scotty Miller dealing with hip and groin injuries at the moment, and hold off on him, apparently. We've got Chris Godwin, MRI from Monday. It says likely out week 4, possibly even week 5. And we have A.J. Brown's update, a knee bruise that has been reportedly slow healing and hasn't responded very well to the treatment so far.
Yeah, that's really concerning when we're talking about a knee here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep an eye on that.
Last bit of news we have for the week is we have our first reports of a team dealing with COVID issues, the Tennessee Titans. They had a small outbreak with some players and some staff. This is a rapidly developing story. We're recording on a Tuesday night, so this could change throughout the week as the tests come back. It's really up in the air at this point. This is the first major incident we're having to deal with in the season. Right now, as of today, the game is still scheduled as is. It might get moved to a Monday night game, or pending any further updates, might get adjusted to later in the season where the bye weeks happen to work out. We'll see. You're going to have to follow this one day by day. It has a lot of implications, not just for the Titans, but also coming up, first coming off of and then coming up to.
Yeah, I mean, they just got done playing the Vikings, so you're going to have to track them as well. Them and Houston, I think, is their next opponent. And so, it's just kind of amazing that we made it through 3 weeks before we saw our first, real COVID situation here. And so we'll see how it plays out. Keep your eyes on it, track it, make sure that you know what's going on with your players. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that'll do it for this week's news, notes, and injuries. Now we're going to move on to our Week 3 studs and duds. And starting off with our quarterbacks, we have our King of the Moment. Our King of the Moment is our top fantasy performer of the week. And we start that off with Patrick Mahomes, who played an excellent, just absolutely excellent game this week.
Yeah, Mahomes getting the crown.
Yeah, 40 points. So 31 of 42 for 385 yards and 4 touchdowns. And also rushing 4 times for 26 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he went off in this game, and this was the big Monday Night Showdown, and it was last year's MVP versus the Super Bowl MVP and Pat Mahomes, and Mahomes went out there and looked every bit as elite as he is, and this kid's the real deal, and so I'm happy to crown this guy King of the Moment coming off that big win.
Yep. We have another familiar name on this list that we'll see a lot, I imagine. Russell Wilson, 36.8 points, also having a very, very big week. 315 yards, 27 of 40. I mean, not bad all around.
Don't forget the 5 TDs.
5 TDs. That's huge. That adds up quick. Another establishing regular on this list, we have Josh Stallion. It's just fun to say it that way. We got Josh Allen, 32.24 points, if you want to get that specific. 24 for 33 and 311 yards. 4 TDs. 4 rushing attempts for 8 yards and a TD. This completion percentage, right? That's 71.1%.
Yeah, that's the big storyline of him this season. I want to say he finished right about 58.8% last season. And so coming into this season, that was my big concern for Josh Allen. I think you might have heard our podcast earlier, that offseason mini breakdown that we did, that mini series. I came out and said that Josh Allen's accuracy could cause some issues. It could be problematic. I would really want to see this kid take another step forward, but I was concerned that he was going to have a hard time getting his receivers the ball, the Stephon Diggs, the new weapon. Man, he came out and said, you don't know what you're talking about, man. 13% upgrade in the completion percentage, and he is just lighting it up. He's on a tear right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving down our quarterback list, we also have Dak Prescott putting up an impressive 29.48 points with some big yardage. 37 of 57 for 472 yards. Wow.
Yeah, they're slinging it all over the place in Dallas, man. I mean, with those receivers, can you really blame them?
No, not at all. And cracking our top 5, we have Jared Goff, 28.24 points. Another big yardage day, 23 of 32 for 321 yards. And also keeping one for a touchdown and then 2 touchdowns in the air. Excellent.
Yeah, Goff, his Achilles heel traditionally has been top defenses on the road. Buffalo, this game was both, and Goff came out and just lit it up. I mean, granted, now this was mostly second half production, and the Rams were trailing big, and so they really had to get some stuff done through the air. So Goff did get it done, and so that's at least encouraging to see. So we'll keep our eye on that, but that could be a trend that is being broken currently. So we'll see.
All right, and rounding out a couple other honorable mentions here, we have Kyler Murray and Fitzmagic and Rodgers with 24 points. We have Brady, Breeze, and Wentz with 22. We have Captain Kirk and Joe Burrow with 20. And for those of you counting, that's 13 quarterbacks north of 20 points.
Yeah, this is why you don't take a QB early in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to some of our stud running backs of the week. Starting off with Super Camario.
Super Camario coming in with 38.2 points. He had 6 for 58 on the ground, but through the air, 13 of 14 for 139 and 2. Just excellent performance against Green Bay. He lit it up and lit up my team as well.
Yeah, that third quarter run.
Oh man, that was
short
gnarly
pass,
to watch.
52 yards.
I couldn't even be mad about that. That's just freaking impressive.
I counted 6 defenders that he either broke tackles from.
He just made him look
juked
silly,
around,
man.
Or jumped over.
He got that star power back.
He got that star power back.
Coming up next, we have Rex Burkhead. Do we really have to do this? We have to go. Oh,
yes, you do.
All right.
Credit where it's due.
Yeah, credit where credit's due. Okay, fair point. 31.3 points, 6 for 49 and 2 on the ground, 7 receptions on 10 targets for 49 and 1 through the air. This is why I hate New England. I mean, I actually do like New England. They're one of my more favorite teams, but for fantasy, this is why I stay away from them, man. Next up, we have James Robinson. At least this one's a feel good.
Mm-hmm.
You like to see this guy perform well. 27.9 points on Thursday night. 11 carries for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then another 6 receptions on 6 targets for 83 through the air. Man, those air yards.
Right.
Those receiving backs, those backs that get the air yardage out of the backfield, it just makes such a difference for your team.
Yep.
King Henry returneth. 26 points for Derrick Henry this weekend. 26 carries for 119 yards, and you finally got the 2 TDs. Now we saw the script be flipped a little bit. Ryan Tannehill with no passing touchdowns, but Derrick Henry getting 2 on the ground. He also caught 2 for 11 yards on 3 targets. Austin Eckler coming in with 25.8 points, 12 carries for 59 yards and 1 TD, and then 11 for 11 for 84 through the air. Eckler out of that backfield, man. That's just what he does.
Just awesome to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Dalvin Cook coming in with 25, Nick Chubb with 23.5, and Connor with 23. Jeffrey Wilson, Davis, Henderson all near 20 points, and then Sony Michel coming in with about 15. I wanted to bring that up because I am not buying that performance. Don't forget Damian Harris is coming back too.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so talking about some of our stud wide receivers this week. Hot Lockett, 32.5 points. 9 for 13 for 100 yards and 3 TDs.
Yeah, but those 3 TDs, they came in the first half, so that almost kind of makes you disappointed in his second half performance, doesn't it? I kind of wanted to see him add another 1 or 2 just for good measure, just to do it, you know?
Yep. We also have Justin Jefferson coming up with 27 points.
Man, he lit it up.
7 for 9, 175 yards and a touchdown. That is some yardage.
Oh, I'll be targeting him hard.
Oh,
hard
absolutely.
on the waiver wire.
We've got Cedric Wilson, 25.2 points, 5 for 7
Blip.
for 172 yards. 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm getting ahead of myself reading this. So, blip. We're talking just...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be, right? I mean, granted, in an offense that's going to throw that much on any given week, anything can happen, right? But you got Amari Cooper, you got Michael Gallup, who's really starting to come on lately and had a little bit of a slow start to the season. You got CeeDee Lamb behind him. You know, Blake Jarwin went down, but then Dalton Schultz has been performing great in the interim. They are trying to use Zeke out of the backfield now. I did see Zeke drop about like 3 passes out of the backfield almost in a row. I think 2 of them were in a row. I don't know what's going on with that, but Cedric Wilson, you got to figure this guy being like the 5th, 6th guy in line to get targets here. There's got to be a blip. I'm not going to be spending a ton of fab on this guy.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, we've also got Keenan Allen, Alan Lazard, Allen Robinson, and Michael Gallup, all with 23 points for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got one more name here.
Yeah, go ahead and take your Cooper victory
Yep,
lap.
Cooper Kupp, 21.2, 9 for 10, 107 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, it's a game.
I'm happy with
game.
it. All right, Ryan, rounding out, last but not least in our stud category, our tight ends for week 3.
Yeah, so there's not a lot to go around here. Jimmy Graham coming up with a big 20-point performance. Had 6 receptions on 10 targets for 60 yards, but 2 TDs. Graham already with 3 TDs through the season and through 3 games. You know, he's not the Jimmy Graham of old. He's more just the old Jimmy Graham at this point, but you know he's getting it done in the red zone for sure, and that's what they really brought him into. They brought him in to use him in the red zone. So this is something that I think that you can play him, and you're counting on the TDs. They're not going to come every week, but you know he's going to look like this most of the season, I would think, as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Tyler Kroft, the Tomb Raider, coming in with 16.4 points, 4 receptions on 5 targets with Dawson Knox injured, had 24 yards but 2 TDs. Eric Ebron, Tanyan, and Mo Alley Cox all with about 13 points. Travis Kelce coming in with 11.7. Pretty pedestrian week for tight ends this week, but hey, at least it was a pedestrian all across the board, so nothing really hurt you.
Right. Well, that'll do it for our week 3 studs, but now we get to talk about the duds. And leading us off in our dud quarterbacks of week 3, Lamar Jackson. Now, 13.18 points, 15 for 28, 97 yards and a touchdown, 9 carries for 83 yards.
Yeah, that's where he makes his money.
But then we have 2 fumbles, one of which was lost. And that's really going to kill a lot of those point production you have early. That
hurts your floor. When you're a high turnover quarterback like Lamar Jackson was in his first year, or Danny Dimes was last year, that's definitely going to hurt your floor a lot.
Yep. Well, speaking of, Daniel Jones, 9.06 points. Not fantastic. 17 of 32. 17 of 32, but for 179 yards and 1 interception. And a fumble as well. Just, ouch.
Yeah, issues holding on to the ball, man. A lot of turnovers in that game.
Yep. And speaking of turnovers, we also have Gardner Minshew, 10.2 points. And this is where we're going to see 30 of 42 for 275 yards and an interception.
Yeah, no TDs really hurt him on that one.
Yeah. Also having a fumble here. I love your note down here. Minshew's magic mustache was not powerful enough to defeat Fitzmagic and his beard of wonder.
I like that. Can we use that moving forward? Can we keep that? Can we keep it, please?
Yes, we can keep. Yeah, all of that. That's all going to stay. I'll get you a T-shirt made with that.
Oh, excellent. I want it.
Yeah, and finally, if you were banking on Cam Newton this week,
yeah, a bit of a gut punch there.
Yeah, most definitely. 12.18 points. Oh. 17 for 28, 162 yards, touchdown. But coming off of a week 1 and 2 of 25 and 35 point performances, this 12 is just not going to cut it.
Yeah, and KC was pretty tough against Lamar, and that's who they got next. So it's gonna be interesting to see if he can rebound there because they were tough. They were tough on Lamar.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
All right, and the last name we want to talk about, we got Baker at 14 points, which is not fantastic, and against Washington. But I mean, at this point, we can confidently say this is relegated to a streamer, and that's it.
Yeah, I had some high hopes for him in this season. I had him just sneaking inside of my QB1 category going into the season with my preseason rankings, and we said we'll give you to the Washington game to show us something, kind of lean the tip the scales one way or the other. With 14 points, it was pretty much like right in the middle for pedestrian. And at this point, I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? Streamer point at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, our running back duds of week 3. I mean, we can make almost a blanket statement here by just calling out the Giants' backfield.
Yeah, we'll just go with the Giants' backfield here. I mean, Gallman had the most fantasy points at 2.4. Followed by Lewis at 1.5 and Devontae Freeman at a solid 1. Not a ton here. That had to hurt. Gallman got the start in the early work. They cycled through the backs with the limited play count. Time of possession was really the major factor here. In limited action, Devontae Freeman did look like the best by far to me of the 3 running backs back there. But it looks like they do want to trust Gallman. I think they're going to, once Devontae Freeman gets some time with the team, I think they're going to switch to him. Hey man, I told you not to draft any Giants. The schedule is real. Malcolm Brown coming in with 1.9 points. That's got to sting. 7 carries for 19 yards, 0 receptions on 2 targets on a day where Darrell Henderson put up 18.5 points. So this random merry-go-round, I'm going back to that. Malcolm Brown's just not getting it done right now. And after a really strong week 1 performance, now 2 down weeks for him, that's got to be discouraging. Mark Ingram, he's got to be hurting you a little bit. 3 points. Leonard Fournette, 3.2. Hopefully he didn't hurt you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did tell you last week, hold your horses. So
if you listen to this show, he probably didn't hurt you.
Right.
You're not starting either of these guys if you don't have to right now. That Bucs backfield is just kind of a mess right now. I'm not sure that they're going to feature just one guy, to be honest with you. Joshua Kelly coming with a disappointing after 2 solid weeks. He's got a tough matchup next week in Tampa. So unfortunately, I think you got to keep him on your bench for now. I was really hoping to get that play out of him in week 3, and he didn't show up for me. David Montgomery. It's impossible to trust Matt Nagy.
Yep.
The guys I really want to get to here, Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs. Now, pedestrian finishes for these guys, nothing to be too upset about. 7.5 points for Joe Mixon, 7.8 for Josh Jacobs. Mixon has Jacksonville coming up. Jacobs has Buffalo. What are you doing with these guys, right? Well, you're starting them. You're starting them if you have them, right? You have to.
Right.
And so with these guys, it's kind of more about, what are the buy low offers that you're getting as far as trade candidates? Because that's really the only way that you're going to be able to move on from these guys. Don't sell them outright. I might take a James Robinson or an Austin Eckler for Joe Mixon at this point, but for him, it's all about waiting for the line to develop enough chemistry together to give him a little bit of room. Just a little bit is all he needs. And defenses to start respecting Joe Burrow a little bit more as a passer. That'll help out. That's going to be coming soon. But I don't know if I want to play that waiting game with Mixon this year. He did hit halfway through last season. It took to the halfway point for that to happen. I don't know if I want to do that again this year.
Yeah, it's a difficult proposition to try and deal with.
For sure.
All right, on to our dud wide receivers of the week. Leading us off, we have Deshaun Jackson, 2.1. with very little production, 2 of 4 for 11 yards.
Yeah, with all the injuries stacked up here, you really thought D-Jax was going to have a fantastic day against Cincy, and he just kind of disappeared. But again, he's kind of one of those NOS players, and that's what they do. They're either going to have everything or pretty much nothing.
Yeah. Now on to Hollywood Brown. Disappointing so far. 2.3 points this week, 2 of 6 for 13. Now in week 1, 12.6 points. In week 2, 6.7. The next 2 matchups coming up are favorable, but so are the last 2.
Yeah, with Hollywood, I don't know where you got to be disappointed with him at this point, but you got to hold him. If someone's still willing to pay a decent price tag for Hollywood Brown, I might actually take it at this point.
Yeah. Well, after a 21.9 point week. You got roster bombed by Julian Edelman's performance this week. 3.2 points. Ooh. 2 of 6 for 23 yards.
Yeah, I was watching this New England game, and New England's almost impossible to predict as far as where the production is going to go. And the thing I kind of took away from this Sunday's game is they're always going to spread the ball around. Everyone's always going to get their chance to shine. So in this kind of offense, it's kind of I think you almost have to take your pick on the player talent. Find a player that you believe has the talent to succeed in limited touches, and then in a pinch you can maybe roll with that. But that's about all I would trust New England for. And for me on this New England team, I mean, Julian Edelman, he's more of a volume play for me. He's only ever good when he gets a ton of volume, and so since I don't want to predict volume with this offense, N'Keal Harry is actually the one I'm interested in as a piece out of here.
Yeah. We've also got on our list AJ Green, 6.1 points, 5 for 6 for 36 yards. Now, we had a 7.6 week 1, a 4.4 week 2. I mean, are you worried with AJ Green at this point?
Yeah, coming off this offseason, the big question was, is he back or not? And so with the injuries, he hasn't really played in like a year and a half, right? And so when healthy prior to that, he's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. But absolutely, he's a freak. But we didn't really know what to expect, and so you got a pretty good discount on AJ Green, but we were really expecting big things as long as he stays healthy. We're not getting the production here. I don't think that you can drop him, but coming up on the schedule, he's got Jacksonville, Baltimore, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Tennessee, and then a bye. Not a particularly great schedule, and some pretty tough ones mixed in there. And don't forget that he's the one, so he's always going to get the top corner for all these teams. Man, it makes it tough, especially with all the targets. You got Higgins coming in now. You got Boyd with 13 targets last week. That's rough. Yeah. I think Green's gonna have to sit on your bench until he starts to get on a roll.
Yeah, most definitely. And rounding out our week 3 duds, we have our tight ends, and Goddard with the ankle injury.
Yeah, only managing 1.2 points. I think that was late first quarter, early second quarter injury. So yeah, he was out early on that one. Some people were predicting him to outscore Zach Ertz in that game. Darren the Walrus only managing 1.9 against this New England defense that you knew was going to key on him, because you have to take away Darren Waller if you want to beat the Raiders. And it's Belichick. Come on, he knows this.
Yeah,
they were effective at it.
Yep.
Mark Andrews had a bummer, 2.7 points, 3 receptions on 8 targets for 22 yards and 1 fumble. My wifey was very upset at this one. To me, he seemed a little hobbled. He seemed hobbled to me. He didn't look comfortable out there. He looked like he was hurting a little bit. And going back, I've been watching Mark Andrews since he was a rookie, and every time that he's even just a little banged up, he plays different. He doesn't play nearly as effective. He doesn't haul in catches that he can make miraculous plays. He doesn't do that if he's clearly banged up, and he looked a little bit out there on Monday night. Mm-hmm. Evan Ingram coming in with 3.7 points. Logan Thomas with 5.1. With poor quarterback performance. What are you going to do? The last part I have is we're not exactly thrilled with O.J. Howard, Hayden Hurst, Tyler Higbee, Noah Fant, T.J. Hawkinson, Hunter Henry, and Mike Gesicki, all around the 7-point mark. These were all the big streamer tight ends, kind of the breakout candidates coming in for this year. I mean, O.J. Howard, not so much okay, but he's one of the top tight end talents in the league. It's more about his situation there with Bruce Arians. But none of them really getting it done this week. Unfortunate. Really unfortunate. But, you got a lot of weird situations going on all over the NFL. You got new quarterback in LA with Hunter Henry. You got, Noah Fant's got that issue going on with Drew Lock is out, so they had Jeff Driscoll, but then he got benched in the third quarter. Just stuff going on all over the place here.
Yeah, well, that will do it for your Week 3 studs and duds for fantasy football. But now we look ahead to Week 4 as we go to the wire and talk about some potential waiver wire pickups that you can have going into Week 4. And starting off with our QBs, these are some streamer options that we've got. Give me some stream options we've got in quarterback.
Well, they really only have one. And so what I'm going to say is, if you're streaming, you better hope that you can get Burrow against Jacksonville, Goff against the Giants, Minshew against Cincy with an angry mustache, or Captain Kirk against Houston. those guys might not even be on the wire.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you missed out on one of those guys earlier on from and just kind of held on to him from an earlier part of the season, then looks like Brett Rypien is going to be your best option going against the New York Jets. Good luck. Happy hunting.
Yeah. All right. Talking about some running backs, and I'm going to make you talk about a name I know you don't want to talk about, but, I mean, Rex Burkhead. Or Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about them both here. So we'll start with Burkhead. I mean, I'm going to say if you're in a deep league, sure, take a shot. It's a deep league, right? At least for the immediate future, before Damian Harris really comes back, James White should be back soon. Prayers and thoughts for James White and his family and their, unfortunate circumstances. But yeah, I mean, like I said, every player in New England is going to get their opportunities, and so it's really about who do you think is going to make the most out of their limited touches. Rex Burkhead is not my pick in that backfield. Jeff Wilson Jr. With McKinnon hurt, Coleman still out. If most misses any time, Jeff Wilson is going to be a smash play. Watching him, he looks fast, man. Not particularly impressive to me, but just freaky fast and good enough to get the job done for sure. And an offense that is great at opening up the running lanes so that the Mostert, the Jeff Wilson, the Ayuk, and they can just take off and take it to the house on any given play. That's their game plan, and Jeff Wilson can definitely get that done. And then lastly, Phillip Lindsay might be coming back from injury soon. He might be on the wire. With everything going on in Denver, it's kind of hard to trust anybody. But Phillip Lindsay is a talent, and if he is on the wire right now, he might be coming off that injury. Go take a peek ski, see if you can snag him up for cheap.
Okay. Well, some wide receiver targets to look at for this week. Justin Jefferson, coming off 27 points, 7 of 9 for 175, and a touchdown with Houston up next.
Yeah, I'm all over Justin. He's my number one. Justin Jefferson is my number one waiver claim for the week for wide receiver for sure. Probably period. Okay.
I'm going to give you another name here, too. Also coming off a big week, Cedric Wilson, 25.2 points.
Oh, God, please don't.
No?
No.
Okay.
No. Gallup, Lamb, a Cooper. And Dalton, if you really want to be, saucy, go with Dalton Schultz, stream it from a tight end. At least that's not going to hurt you too bad. But Cedric Wilson, I mean, you can take the shot and put him on your roster. Maybe there's an injury that happens. He's an injury or two away from really being it. Now, he could do nothing over the next, I don't care however many weeks. And if there's an injury or two that happened in that wide receiver core, then I'm looking at Cedric Wilson.
Okay. How about Brandon Ayuk?
Ayukin.
Yeah,
18.6 points on four receptions on 4 targets for 95 and 1, adding 31 and 1 on the ground. He balled out for sure. We called him as an early season, hey, due to opportunity, injuries, he might get the opportunity early in San Francisco, and he's definitely got the talent for it. Definitely got to keep your eye on. Definitely got to keep your eye on now. If you can't get Justin Jefferson, I think Ayuk would be a great ad.
Okay, well, let me ask you this one. Are you interested in McCole Hardman's 6 targets? I mean, only 39%
not over the previous 2, no. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely, if you're wide receiver needy, if you took some injuries or you're in a deeper league, McCole Hardman, yeah, sure, he had 6 targets this week, only 39 snap percentage, but last week he was on the field for 66% of snaps, and so they clearly want him involved, and he's a one big play kind of guy on the Chiefs offense. Kind of what's been why people have been wanting to trust this guy for a while. It's looking like we're at the beginning part that now we're starting to see that maybe we can. I'd still like to see him string together some performances before I really heavily target him. But yeah, sure, you can definitely give him an early stash now if you have the room for sure.
Yeah, and we got another name that may have been dumped by a few teams in a few leagues. Anthony Miller.
Yeah, he's very probably worth a roster spot. Snap percentage.
Very probably.
Snap percentages have been bothering everyone. He's been hovering around 50%, and that's why a lot of people, after the Goose the week prior, a lot of people just don't want to deal with it because you don't really know when you can predict that he's going to get you the points. He does blow up and get you double digits pretty easily, but the fact of the matter is you don't know when he's going to goose you and when he's going to just blow up. And so with those snap percentages, we'd like to see that closer to the 70-80% range. But the problem is that he's really the only target next to A-Rob.
Yeah.
Or Jimmy Graham if you're in the red zone. So
Okay. And then rounding out some of our waiver wire picks, we have another stream position with our tight ends.
Yeah, Mo Cox, Gigantor, going 3 for 3 for 50 yards and 1 TD, 12.5 points. 13.6 last week. The Bears do have small linebackers. This guy is Gigantor, just right over Yao Ming them. Why not? Jordan Akins, you can stream him against Minnesota, and then I think Dalton Schultz this week at home against Cleveland with their pass rush and those corners there. I think that the big guy open in the middle will probably be a frequent target for Dak Prescott. He's been seeing a lot of targets already. I like Schultz. I like Schultz a lot. I liked Jarwin, and I'm still angry with Schultz because all I see is Jarwin when I watch him play. But, he's been doing great.
Yeah.
So kudos.
Well, there you go, football fandom. You've got some names to target going into week 4. If you need to pick up a few spots, if you need to hit your waiver wire, or if you've got some positions to stream. But right now, we would like to go over some players that you may want to hold your horses on. These are the players that maybe had a big week that was a one-off, or maybe you don't want to get rid of them just yet. And we're going to start off with the number 1 name on this list, T. Higgins.
Yeah, so I have T. Higgins as one of my hold your horses candidates here. 18.5 points, that's great. 81% snap percentage last week, that's great. 9 targets, fantastic.
Yep.
Caught 5 of them for 40 yards, 2 TDs. Great performance, all around. Hyper talented receiver. I'm not really kind of hating on T. Higgins. I'm more saying that, so many mouths to feed in Cincy. Burrow hasn't really found his rhythm yet. They did bench John Ross in lieu of Higgins. I want to say Ross was even a healthy scratch. And so that's encouraging, but I would say he's definitely someone to keep an eye on, but there are a ton of solid candidates that I would even take over T. Higgins at this point on the wire. Justin Jefferson being one of them. Ayuk I would take over Higgins right now. Just a little risky to be selling the farm and bet the farm and bet your fab on this guy. It's just a little risky yet.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've got a player coming off of a 22.5 point week in Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I like that he looked aggressive and energized in this one. He kind of reminded me of the pre-injury Wentz here, especially when he was tucking it down and running. It almost seems like he got fed up with that pass rush and just said, "Screw it, I'm gonna do it myself." I'd like to see him keep that up, but good luck against San Francisco, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore in the next 3 weeks. And don't forget that in weeks 1 and 2, he only put up 14 points. So it's pretty hard to trust Carson Wentz and that Eagles offense right now.
Yep. I'm not gonna make you go and talk about Rex Burkhead here.
Thank God.
Yep. But you do have another couple of names actually that you want to talk about. So I'll let you bring those up.
Yeah, I could point to Andy Isabella and Randall Cobb and say, here's your mirage you can stay away from, or even Cedric Wilson, right? I feel I'm going to assume that you have a brain and that you can identify that, right? I'm going to go ahead and talk about Hunter Renfrow and Greg Ward instead. These are guys that have both flashed in years past. Obviously, Hunter Renfrow last year only, but Greg Ward has been around for just a little bit. They both flashed in previous seasons. Everyone's kind of hoping for these guys to be the dark horse candidates that kind of take their step up and have a more consistent and prominent role. The problem is their situations. And so with both teams having erratic quarterback play, the team spread the ball around a ton too. It's kind of hard to bank on them for any kind of floor. Both teams have difficult matchups coming up in the next weeks. Ward with San Francisco and Pittsburgh coming up. Renfrow with Buffalo and Kansas City, and then the bye. Right now I'd be more concerned about these guys being roster bombs. If you could probably put them in your lineup in a pinch, but to be honest with you, I'm pretty concerned that they're going to be solid dud candidates for you. I don't want them dudding out on your lineup. So watch out for those guys. Well,
there you go. You got your stable of all your horses to hang on to for this week.
That was good.
Yeah.
We've got that.
Thanks. I just thought of that as we're closing up here. All right, so we've got a new segment coming up for you. This is a very unique segment for a small subset of players, but we do think it's important. We call it our DFS Smash Plays segment for those of you who are daily fantasy players. And why don't you tell us a little about what this is going to involve?
Yeah, if you're in any kind of if you're involved in any kind of DFS platforms like Fandom or DraftKings, basically, or even if you're not, this is still really relevant information for you because we're basically talking about boom bust plays here. We're looking for players with a really good percentage chance at booming for their relative value for the week. And so for DFS, what that means is basically what you're doing is you're building your own fantasy football lineup every week from scratch. You can pick whatever players you want. You're not drafting or anything like that. What they do is they give you a budget, and then they allot players certain values based on their projections for the week. And so you have this budget to build your team. Obviously, they don't give you enough to just stack your team full of superstars. So you have to look for some of those outside the box, low probability players that could just blow up and, win your week for you type of thing. So the first name I'm going to bring up is Lamar Jackson, because his salary price may have actually taken a hit. Check for that on your platform with his matchup against the team who shall not be named with Chase Young injured. I expect him to have kind of a bounce back game here. Otherwise, Gardner Minshew against Cincy. It's a great play. Dalvin Cook against Houston, Darrell Henderson against the New York Giants. I do like Brian Hill against the Packers as kind of a dark horse candidate if you're looking to save some money save some of your budget at the running back position. Michael Thomas or Devontae Adams are my obvious smash plays if they're a go. For a dark horse shot, I like Lazard against Atlanta with or without Adams, and I like Jerry Jeudy this week against the Jets. He's a kind of a ticking time bomb just waiting to go off. I think he's been nursing a little bit of an injury, so keep abreast of that. For tight end, I like Mark Andrews as my smash play. I like him to have a bounce back game against Washington as well. Dalton Schultz is my dark horse. I am all over Dalton Schultz everywhere at this point.
Well, there you go, football fandom. Some DFS smash plays of the week. Just keep in mind it's your money on the line. It's your money to play with, and we will not reimburse you if anything doesn't turn out the way we said it will.
But we're also not taking a cut for our free advice.
Right. So there you go, right? So it's free advice. Use it for what you want. Yeah, exactly. All right. So we're getting to the point of our show where we like to have our little hometown corner and talk about our heart attack inducing Chicago Bears and the way their season has been going. But before we do, I feel it's important, being the Shy Guys, that we take a moment to talk about a very important Bears player who passed away this past week, Gale Sayers. Now, for those of you too young to know about the influence of Gale Sayers, whatever we could talk about here is not going to do the man justice. I highly recommend you take the time to read about what type of person he was, not just on the field, but off the field. Tremendously amazing person in the community. He is definitely going to be missed. So, Gale Sayers.
Yeah, the world lost a Titan.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, with that said, let's head down into our hometown corner. And Anthony, give it to us this week.
All right, so for my breaking down the Bears segment here, in case of emergency, break glass indeed. Well, that's exactly what they did in benching Mitchell Trubisky in the third quarter last week, naming Foles the starter moving forward. It makes sense at this point, but it's hard not to get butterflies in the tummy looking at some of those throws that Foles had there on Sunday. Granted, the 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, probably could have had 2 more on top of that. You had the Anthony Miller drop and then the A-Rob play overturn, controversial play. I mean, it looked like a pick to me.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to count A-Rob landing on the guy's legs as him down, that's pretty much a pick. The guy took it away. And so as a Bears fan right now, I don't think that you can feel confident after the way these wins have come about. But the nice part is, in those 3 wins, they're staying on the record. Yep. Those wins are not going away. And so, we'll see if the team can get any kind of energy started and rhythm going with Matt Nagy really trying to achieve that spark that he wants. It feels like he's just kind of waiting for a time that he can justify going to the guy that he thinks can run his offense the way that he wants it run, regardless of talent. At this point, I can understand his frustration. Mitchell just hasn't mastered that offense. He's not able to run it the way Foles is, and I can see why Nagy would want someone who can just run it the way he wants it run, right? Well, we'll see if it looks any better, right? I don't think that Foles is going to come in and be a savior here. That's a key point to understand. He's going to have his downsides too, so we'll see how long the Chicago public can maintain patience with Foles. Hopefully a little bit longer than they did with Trubisky. The key to beating this Colts team coming up is going to be getting Monty going early and often. Really selling the play action. Remember, Foles isn't as mobile, and so he's going to be looking for those quick targets to get the ball out.
Alrighty, and I said this after week 1 when it comes to the Bears. I said they can't be consistently trying to win these games in the fourth quarter, it's not going to work out for them in the long term. And, well, 3 games in, they're kind of proving me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, luck is definitely on their side, which is kind of nice to see as a Chicago fan because we don't get much of that around here.
Yeah, well, with that, we will bring a close to Week 3. We want to thank you all for watching the Shy Guys Football Podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can leave a comment down below on our YouTube channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'd love to hear from you about some of your big wins and losses, any questions you may have. You can also tweet at us at Shy Guys Football or shoot us an email, shyguysfootball@gmail.com. Best of luck on all your waiver wire picks and your trades going into Week 4. Until then, we'll see you next time.